Inside Story. I'm Kate from Jeeni, and today I'm joined by Amba Tremain, who was the very first showcase created on Jeeni, and we have been following and sharing her work ever since. Hi, Amba, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I can't believe that, like one of the first kind of people to, I don't know, kind of be shared. And yeah, it's just grown so much, hasn't it?
hmm so Jeannie's got a very special relationship with you because, as we've just said, your showcase was our very first one ever created, and exactly a year ago we featured you in our very first Jeannie Festival. Um, and you won a talent contest hosted by one of the Spice Girls. And since that, you've said that there was no sort of aftercare, no record deal, and no one to really help you. And you've also said that in the past you've been ripped off by like fake record deals and things like that, which is such a shame. But do you think that if Jeannie and kind of other platforms like us had been around then you could have used that sort of help and advice?
So much has happened and changed within the music industry just in these last kind of 20 years. I remember coming out of performing arts school at 18 and having these dreams of kind of pursuing some sort of performing life. And I kind of stumbled into music when I did the TV show. And the TV show was great. It was an amazing platform and it completely changed my life. But it was the first of its kind. So it was before your X Factors and before, kind of The Voice, where there's like a boot camp process and there's all sorts to protect you and your mental health and all that kind of stuff. So if we went back before then, they kind of just wished me well and handed me a cash prize and said, well done. And that was amazing. But I was very, very young and inexperienced and naive. I was only 20 years old. And I had to do a lot of learning. And I think that's when you get sucked in, when you don't have the knowledge and when you don't have the support, you can find yourself going down paths because you don't know anything about them. And that's how I ended up losing a lot of money to con men, essentially.
Mhm.
But I think if there were things like Jeeni and so many other great platforms now that can help you be the DIY artist, I might not have, kind of fallen victim to bad management. But
Mhm.
I will just say that there's so much more power in our hands now, and there's so much more information available. And we are, thankfully, for people like Jeannie, it's not necessarily about the record deal anymore. It's about looking after the music and the artists. And so
Mhm.
that's why, people like yourself and Jeannie and stuff are so important because they're not saying, kid, we're going to make you a star, let's sign you. They're giving you the tools and the platform and the help to kind of guide yourself. And I think that's really important now. That's the massive change in the last 20
Mhm.
years.
Yeah, very much so. And we try and help as many young performers as we can. And but you've been doing that on a personal level. So tell me about Urban Vocal Group.
So yeah, I mean, as you can tell, this was born. My kind of passion for helping younger artists has been born out of my own experience. But the Urban Vocal Group, myself and an amazing guy called Charlie Fletcher, we founded this project in 2008, where we just wanted to bring young people together through a love of music. We wanted to give it to them for free. There was a lot outside of Portsmouth, London and kind of more music populated areas. So actually, we wanted to give something to places that didn't really have that kind of facility. And yeah, we set up the Urban Vocal Group. It was a singing group essentially for young people to come, learn a new skill, enjoy music, and grow. And it did grow. We literally had 8 people, and now we're kind of looking at 100 members. We have had a year off, and it's been really difficult, but all of the children involved, the kids, the teenagers, the adults that we now have involved, they cannot wait to get back. And it's been something that's so important to us. We're talking group singing, social activity for them as well. And not only that, but we're now helping mentor young performers and help them get on the path should they want to pursue music. So there's lots involved, and it's like I say, it's been going for over 12 years now, nearly 13 years.
hmm and so it's obviously been a very sort of different year, to say the least, with regards to the pandemic. So, what have you been up to over the last 12 months, and how have you personally had to adapt?
Well, I think everyone's going to have a different story for this, but actually, keeping it short and sweet, it threw us into a situation where we potentially lost our lives, our livelihoods, especially, myself, I was working in 3 or 4 bands. My living was through teaching music or playing music, and suddenly it was taken away from us. But I think the fortunate thing for me is the week that we went into lockdown, that week I was due to perform on So Far Sounds, and So Far Sounds is an incredible platform for original music. And instead of, feeling sad about it, I just did it online, and I just did one in my kitchen, and it was really well received. It was terrible audio quality. Like, I've improved so much since then in terms of technology and teaching myself things, but it just highlighted within the first week that people are still going to need that music, that entertainment, that everyone needed a pick me up, So from that moment onwards, from week one of the pandemic and lockdown, I got online, and it ended up every Sunday I would do a live stream gig, or every other Sunday. Then I took it to the rooftop of my house, and it was one of those really eerie moments in lockdown when there was no traffic and no noise and no aeroplanes and just birds. And birds and a barbecue. You could hear like children playing in their gardens, and I just stood on the rooftop, and it was the first time I'd met my neighbours, and that was my intro to my neighbours.
And I've been looking at the figures ever since we've been promoting your live stream events to our audiences, and like the figures sort of speak for themselves. 250,000 monthly listeners, your own radio show, starring on primetime TV in I Can See Your Voice. So despite the pandemic, has this actually been one of your best years in terms of musical success?
I think that this has absolutely been the best year. The worst year for some things, the best year for others.
And in the past, you've toured with and recorded with Boy George. So have you got any good stories that you can tell us about that?
He's a very strict vegan. And I remember it was Boy George who introduced me to the vegan chocolate cake, and I gotta say, I'm happy to eat vegan food. I'm a food lover of all things, but it was so rich, and I don't know how he does it, but he gets given them as gifts all the time. we were at a studio, a TV studio, and then suddenly a big cake arrived, and it happened more than once. So I was like, so basically people like sending him cakes. And he's lovely, and he's just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
So he deserves all the cake he can get.
He deserves all the cake he can get as well.
And finally, what would be your advice to give to our Jeeni members who are just starting out on their musical journey?
I think the most important advice I could give is to learn as much as you can about the processes, because like I was saying before, the record deal isn't what it used to be. It's not like, you would send a demo and, oh, we'll sign you. There's so much more that goes into it now, and so much more that you have control of. And I think the most important thing is to skill up and to learn a lot of things, and learn how to do a lot of things yourself, even down to registering yourself with things like PRS and distributors, releasing your own music. I also think that one of the most important pieces of advice is that everything you do can be considered a release. So if you're waiting to release music, and you're kind of waiting, don't forget things like social media can dip off, and there's things like algorithms. There's a lot that goes into it, but everything that you release is inviting people on your journey. So look at things like YouTube, do a live stream, chat to your audience and your followers, release a track, release a video, just keep that momentum going, because that's what's going to help to build the bigger picture for you. But ultimately, I think it's about putting yourself in the driver's seat as much as you possibly can. That excuse me. That way you're very much in control, and you understand more about what's going on. It can be a really lonely place, waiting for somebody to pick you up, or waiting to be seen, or waiting to be heard. And I guess what it comes down to is, don't wait, do it, get it out there, show the world what you've got, and don't wait for anyone.
Amber, it was so wonderful to speak to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We can't wait to hear the new album, see all your new performances. So thank you so much. And everyone, make sure they check out Amber's showcase on Jeeni, which, as we mentioned, was our very first.
Yay! Thank you.